Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's TX141 here, bringing you another Ace in a Day gameplay for the arcade mode of War Thunder. Today we'll be bringing out the legendary and highly requested P-51D-5 Mustang. To give you guys and girls a small historical overview, the North American P-51 Mustang saw its origin in the requirement for an Allied high-altitude, long-range fighter, which would be able to escort medium to heavy bombers such as the Boeing B-17 Fortress. The first iteration of the P-51 Mustang was seen as the Mustang Mark 1A, outfitted with an Allison V1710 engine. Now the Mustang Mark 1A wasn't too bad, however the Allison engine lost its performance at altitudes of 7,000 metres or higher, which wasn't ideal for the role of a high altitude escort fighter. And as a result, the engineers had to go back to the drawing board, because the structure of the P-51 was on the whole brilliant. And so came the P-51B, the iteration which saw the removal of the Allison engine in favour of the quite infamous Rolls-Royce Merlin 61 engine, as outfitted in the Spitfire Mark 9. And so, with the P-51C seeing the same engine and pretty much the same characteristics as the P-51B in 1943, the P-51D came along in mid-1944, with its most notable change being the introduction of the bubble canopy cockpit, which gave the pilot a near 360-degree field of view. And so we come down to the review of this plane, as you guys and girls wanted. To start off with, we're in a ground strike match on the map Top of the World, with a setup of a 45-minute fuel load and a gun convergence of 400 metres, employing the tracer rounds for our 6 12.7mm Browning machine guns. And to begin with, I end up engaging a Focke-Wulf 190 A5U2 head on, oscillating up and down to shake their aim. However, upon inspection, I'd say the Focke-Wulf 190 A5 wasn't really concerned with us, actually going for a Spitfire Mark 5B, as you're going to see in a second. And so before they can take out my teammate, we remove that Focke-Wulf 190 A5 from the game. As you can see, it was that Spitfire Mark 5B, fresh from spawn, which they were targeting. Now the question you're probably asking is, why did I use that oscillating technique when I went towards that Focke-Wulf 190 A5? Well, I'm going to break the situation down into 3 steps. Firstly, setup. Now, setup and playstyle. In general, the P-51D Mustang, I employ quite a different playstyle compared to most planes. I normally do stick up at higher altitudes, however with the Mustang I find you've got to be up at high altitude regardless of the situation. As you're going to see throughout this game, I spend most of the time up at altitudes between 4,000 to 6,000 metres. Why is that? Well, I'm playing the Mustang as it was historically designed to be used, i.e. as the high altitude escort fighter. We've got a good number of bombers on our team in this game that are going specifically for the enemy bases and eventually the enemy airfield, and I want these guys to win the game for us, so I've got to do everything in my power to make sure no enemy fighters come anywhere near my teammates. And so that's why I'm meandering towards this Messerschmitt 109 that's just come out of spawn and is already climbing up in order to try and take on the higher altitude role. Secondly, engagement. When I go to engage an enemy plane, I'm trying to come down at as shallow an angle as possible. I always intend to have a 1,000 metre altitude advantage, if not 2,000 metres on the plane. And as you can see here, this 109 is about 1,000 metres below us in terms of altitude. So I come in at a gradual angle in order to build my speed up, and then as I get closer I roll on to the target, engage the combat flaps and open fire. However, what if it doesn't go right? Well, all that speed we built up by just cruising around the map at high altitude, especially with our engine and our brilliant climb rate, means that we can carry on climbing away from our target and they can throw cannon rounds at us all day. Because soon that 109G is going to run out of energy, at which point we'll be able to loop over and apply a little bit of rudder to come directly down on them and apply our machine guns. They're not as powerful as a cannon round, however they damn well hurt in the right situation. Achieving our second kill. So, we've just broken it down into 3 steps. Initial setup, engagement, and what follows the engagement, i.e. your first pass. The characteristics of the P-51D, in my opinion, are as follows. Your engagement speed should always be between 400 to 650 km an hour, with preference being to about 500 km an hour. Why is that, you ask? Well, you've got a decent roll rate, you've got a decent turn circle at those speeds, and you've got a very good climb rate. Additionally, you can really abuse the weapon on this plane and get away with it compared to a lot of other planes. The engine doesn't overheat as regularly as, say, that of a Focke-Wulf 190 would, and that means you can get up to higher altitudes and break away from engagements whenever you want. Of course, if someone attacks you from a higher altitude, then you're in problems, because this plane isn't really designed to go after someone who's above you. It's designed to come down and deal and deal swift retribution on an opponent who tries to take on your team's bombers. Now, this P-63 King Cobra was originally trying to gain some altitude to come up and intercept my team's bombers, but because we've meandered over, the P-63 has changed their mind, and that's our job done. In some games, as I've even found, you're not going to get many kills if you play this way. I'll be honest, I had a lot of games where I'd go 4 for 0, 3 for 0, and they'd be clean kills. I'd take out players trying to intercept my team's bombers, but because after you've killed the first couple of fighters, either the enemy team's going to make one of two choices. They'll either just accept the fact that your team's going to win because your bombers are destroying the airfields, or they're going to send everything they've got at you, as you're going to see towards the end of this game. So we come down at a shallow angle on this IL-4, and we're not intending to take the IL-4 out, we're just harassing them to force them down to a lower altitude. As you can see, we managed to kill one of their gunners and get one of the engines smoking, and unfortunately, due to a very small lag spike, we didn't manage to take them out. However, to make up for that, we've got a Focke-Wulf 190, A5U2 as it turns out, coming up towards us. They've spent the time climbing, and as you can see, our engagement speed is close to 590, if not 600, and so we start to oscillate before looping over. Now, sometimes you won't be able to get your opponent in the first pass because they built up quite a bit of energy, as this A5 had. However, you can toy with your opponent by forcing them into multiple loops. Now, some planes will be able to follow you, and in those circumstances, and when I say some planes, I'm talking about planes such as the LA5, Yak 9s, and Spitfire Mark 9s, you might have to actually turn as hard as possible after that first pass, and actually apply some rudder to come round and take them out. However, in the case of this Focke-Wulf 190 A5, we've managed to make them exhaust all their energy, and now we can go on the attack, set them on fire, and cause their pilot to bail out, achieving our third kill. The tracer rounds setting the fuel tank of the Focke-Wulf 190 on fire, which is why I prefer to use the tracer belt. It's only for that reason, and also it makes a decent belt for attacking enemy bombers, just because if you can set the fuel tank or an engine of a bomber on fire, it's not going to always take the bomber out, but it means they have to sacrifice altitude usually, and it's especially brilliant for taking on B-17s. My advice would be, when going against an enemy bomber, come in a very fast pass and just open up, get off a 3 to 4 second burst, and then climb away, just fly away from the enemy bomber and forget about them. If they continue to stay up at higher altitudes, then proceed to repeat the process. However, this plane can't take many hits from an enemy bomber. Mind you, most planes can't. And so, diving down, I notice this P-63A King Cobra has decided to climb up towards us, and so we're just going to climb away from them, enter a quick loop again, because we're making them drain all their energy, and we're still at a very high speed, in order to achieve our fourth kill. And we can go into another loop again because we've got no other opponents coming after us, and this enemy Messerschmitt 109 has decided to go after our bombers, and so we can proceed to intercept. Unfortunately, in this game I have had to hang around the enemy spawn a bit. However, as I hope you'd agree with me, I've only gone for targets which have actually decided to climb up and try and go for the bombers or for myself, rather than go for targets that are fresh out spawn and are trying to head off into the actual battle. And we can use our WEP to get ourselves a little bit closer to that 109, just a little bit faster. Achieving our ace. So that's 5 kills now, and we've got both a Yak 9 and an LA5 coming up towards our B-25 Mitchell. Fortunately, our Mitchell's flying a little bit low. However, we've still got time to intercept. At first I thought about going after the LA-5, however I noticed that the LA-5 was actually gradually proceeding away, meanwhile the Yak-9 seemed to have run out quite a bit of energy and was the preferential target. Especially seeing as it's a Yak-9T, and I've only got to get hit once by it. And that's my 6th kill. And following that, this LA-5, which I was talking about earlier, decides to come after me. And so what I decide to do is turn around, come at them at a slight angle, and proceed to go up into another vertical climb. Why? Because all the time I'm jerking about and causing them to lose their focus and their aim, I can cause them to lose energy and take them out. By setting them on fire, I know I've probably got the kill on that LA-5F, and so I decide to run for it because this Messerschmitt 9F has managed to climb above me and is trying to come down on me. However, we've done our job. We've got 7 kills, we've allowed our team's bombers to take out the airfield as you'll see shortly, and now we can just run for it. Because that's the one final quality which I love about a P-51D Mustang, it's fast. Especially when you come out of a prolonged dive. As you can see here, we're at a speed of 750 km an hour, and we're holding our speed quite nicely in all honesty. With a little bit of applied wet just as we come out that turn to make sure that 109 can't keep up with us. And so that's the end of the game really. Decided to just fire a couple of bullets at that armoured car, completely missing. Although I was rather jubilant at this point, going under the bridge to end the game. And so it's time to review the stats of that match. On a personal level, we didn't do too bad in all honesty. 24,000 silver lions, unlocked our rocket pods, although I'll never outfit them in all honesty, just because I don't like to use rockets, and achieving 1,800 research points, although because it's a special event and I believe I achieved an extra 500 research points due to the 4 kills on the 8th of March event, we got about 1,300 research points in actuality. Still a nice sizable reward on the way to the F8F-1A Bearcat. In short, I'd have to say this about the P-51D Mustang. It's not an easy plane to get used to. Your playstyle's very different from what you'll have been used to with other American planes and also with other planes of the 5.0 battle rating in general. My most preferential argument would be the Spitfire Mark 9, the more manoeuvrable of the two planes, as most Allied pilots commented. However, if you achieve high altitude dominance and take your time, take shallow angles of approach and abuse your energy advantage, you'll be nailing opponents with those 50 cals so fast that you'll be king of the sky. And on that note, take care and thank you for watching. If you like the video, why not leave a like, comment or subscribe for future content on my channel. Until next time ladies and gentlemen, good luck in the skies.